Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Hi, kids! It's me, your favorite legally distinct, silly, goofy, dog-like character. If you're tuning in today for a brightly colored, wacky, and off-the-wall barrel of chuckles, you've come to the wrong place. Gosh. Yuck. That's my nervous laughter trying to escape the dreaded knowledge that we're about to go down a rabbit hole into the dark and twisted heart of terror of worlds and characters who could only be imagined and realized by the sickest, freakiest creators of animated, or should I say, AnimaDEAD horror films. Thanks for that pun, Tommy. Well, better get going before Pete gets sued by the mouse lawyers, the most evil monsters of all. From TrueStory.fm, this is Sitting in the Dark. Each month we take a look at a subgenre or topic within horror films, and this month we are looking at AnimaDEAD Horror. That's right, we're looking at animation. That is the filmmaking that is done frame by killer frame. And as some definitions go, as we see in Stop Motion, one of our 3 films, animation is described as the art of bringing to life still images, but what happens when we bring them to death? So, this week we have with me, as always, a coyote walking straight off a cliff, but not falling until she looks down on the canyon floor far below. Chelsea Stardust. Hi, Chelsea.
Hello.
A cat sticking a full fish into his mouth and in one stroke pulling it out to reveal an entirely clean skeleton. That's Mr. Pete Wright. Hi, Pete.
I hear the xylophone of my ribs going, 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 going.
Oh, and then they hit 2 and make 2 distinct tones hitting the same rib. I hope somebody got fired for that blunder. And last but not least, the same living room couch and lamp set that the rest of us walk by in the background over and over again so the animator's hands don't cramp up. That's Tommy Metz III. Hi, Tommy.
Yep. Hi. Thank you.
So this week we're looking at some pretty out there stuff. We have from Japan, Satoshi Kon's 1997 Perfect Blue. We have 30 years in the making, animation master Phil Tippett's Mad God from 2021. And making his live action debut, Robert Morgan, the stop motion animator, with the film called Stop Motion from 2023. So I'm so glad you're here with me, us, doing this all together. Any thoughts at first? Like, what's your relationship to animation in general and to the medium? I mean, are you guys cartoon fans, or that hasn't come up yet on the show?
I am not and am, in that I never choose to watch animation. I always feel like I should be watching something adult or real life. And then when I see animation, I love it, but I refuse to learn the lesson. So I just keep there's a vast amount of like Disney films I haven't seen. I wasn't really shown them growing up. And so I just never really got on that train. So I was a little bit wrongly nervous when you announced this because I didn't think it would be up my alley. And again, I was proved wrong, and I look forward to next time.
Wonderful.
I love animation. I like weird animation. I like Ralph Bakshi. I like Fritz the Cat. I love heavy metal. The dirtier, the better. And I sometimes when I do my like monthly watch, like every day of the week, what are we going to watch? I'll do an animation day and like catch up on the things I haven't seen or the ones I missed. So I was very excited about this category as someone who loves I love stop motion in general, but I love all animation, and I love the hybrid of live action animation, like Cool World, Mary Poppins, etc. Roger Rabbit.
Magical, yeah. And Pete?
I had watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, but I don't think I was fully transformed until I saw Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. And I mean, that was awesome. I did not know they could do that with animation. And so, I'm in the same boat. I probably split the difference between Chelsea and Tommy. Like it's one of those things that I love when I'm watching. I'm not an overt antagonist to it. I don't watch enough, and I'm always overjoyed when I see something great.
Yeah, I'm a big animation fan. There's a lot out there that I kind of have to know that I'm getting into something worth my while, because there is a lot of really poorly made crap for children, and sometimes it's hard to tell just from the poster what's what, and that kind of thing. But I'm a really big fan. It's they're at the top of my list every year. And even though it's technically like a live action movie, the movie I was looking forward most this year to was The Sheep Detectives.
Already saw it.
That's my deal. But yeah, like Chelsea, I follow some of the weird stuff. I love discovering new animators, and oftentimes you can discover them, like Robert Morgan, whose work I'd never seen until we started covering stop motion. Oh, they have this whole back catalog of really cool, interesting things here. So so I'm glad that we got to take a look at these together. One of the things as we go through with these three films, that we asked when I was in grad school in UCLA, taking some animation classes. I wasn't an animator there, but whenever we would pitch a story, we were told to, freely ask each other, like, why does this have to be animated? And part of that, it sounds really rough, but part of that was the animation teachers trying to save you all this time, 31 years of time of trying to make a film. Like, why not just go out with a camera? That'd be so much easier. So I think these three passed that test of why couldn't we just do this in live action? But that's what I'd like to look at here on each one specifically. So I think if we go chronologically through these, we'll also get a nice ramp up into 2D animation, stop motion animation, and then the making of animation. So why don't we start with Perfect Blue, which is one of Satoshi Kon, the great Japanese animator's masterpieces. This is about a young how would you say, the girl group starlet who is trying to become a serious actor, but someone or something is trying to keep her from that transition and starts to sabotage the sets that she's on, as well as sending her some horrors from the real villain of the film, the early internet, where somebody is writing a blog and apparently can see her every movement in her room. Is she losing her mind, or are there deeper forces at work there? And this is Perfect Blue. Was this new to anybody?
Not me.
This is the one I'd seen.
Okay, all right, you're right. Well, before we get started with Perfect Blue, do we have any axes to grind?
Go ahead. Do it. You want it.
My general axe to grind about anime is anime. I just have to really I just have to change my brain because of the, like you sort of talked about in the opening, like the repetitiveness, the lack of drawing all the faces in a crowd, the just repeated motion. It's a completely different type of thing that I'm just not used to. And so it always takes me a good half of a film to get into that groove, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they're so brief, so that's a big right. Chunk. Yeah.
I think mine is a narrative axe, and and I think it's that. So the first time I saw this, it was a Fathom event. And so I saw it on a very big screen at one of our better theaters, and it was delightful. It's really, really fun to see it big screen. So I watched it again, and I had the same feeling. I hate the last line of this movie. It makes me so effing crazy. When she looks around, it says, it's really me, whatever it is. I'm like, oh, you just blew it. You popped the whole balloon. There was a whole balloon, and you went and you popped it. And I get so frustrated by it every time I see it. That's my only axe.
Yeah, I've tried to, to retroactively try to fix that line, to figure out something that's going on there. But no, it basically says, like, after all of the mind Fs over and over and over again, there's one last one, but we're not going to tell you what it is. It's just something else is going on here. It's very strange. Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know if I really love this movie. And as someone who, like, I'm a big Miyazaki fan too, so I can see some of that in here. Also, the team behind Cam.
I'm so glad you said that. There are definitely echoes in Cam for sure.
Yeah, I think this is. I mean, you can if you're a Instagram user, you'll see there's a lot of accounts that will show stills from this movie used in movies later on, used in live action movies, which I find very fascinating. But if I have to like really find something, um, there's a weird, maybe because it's animated, I don't know why. There's a weird levity to this very heavy subject matter that sometimes feels a little off and makes you a little uncomfortable, because I'm like, this is some really serious stuff we're trying to just like shrug off, and it feels weird about it. I don't know if that's like where that stems from, but that's just for me personally. Like, ooh, I'm really uncomfortable with the way this is being handled. But um overall, I love this movie. I think it's a very sort of fundamental movie in the sort of animation world. But if I had to pick something, that would have to be it for
Yeah,
me.
well, I'm with you. That's my axe essentially. Is whenever I've watched the film twice now, and um, it has such sympathy for its female characters and the place of female stardom, and then also it is easily read as misogynist. And that's sort of my question: is like, is this movie misogynistic with its use of sexual assault and rape, and how much you see of these women's bodies, not necessarily for any reason except that they can, but it's also about those things. So I'm always like, oh gosh, like what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? So I think ultimately the movie is like pro-feminist, but it also has some imagery in it that you could see going right into a misogynist as spank bank, and just these terrible uses of this film. So yeah, I'm always of two minds when we get into that center section.
I think it's really interesting to say that, because it's like there's another dimension in the filmmaking beyond like performance, character performance, voice performance. There's also, why is this rape scene drawn with such glee? Right, like you kind of feel the hand,
right,
that is actually creating these images in a way that you don't always feel the filmmaker, and so I think there's sort of an intimacy to it that is really fascinating. And you're right. I mean, I hadn't given that a whole lot of consideration until this view, like about doing it for the show. Why is it that I feel like every version of Mima is somebody's fantastical, sex unicorn, right? And there are multiple target audiences for that.
Right. Yeah, and there's this really interesting stuff about her filming, a rape scene, and like what is like from her perspective, and the actor on top of her who's playing her rapist is like, "Hey, are you okay?" and checking in. That's very interesting stuff. But then it's completely. Then you get a shot that's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! That's not interesting. That's exploitative." But yeah, so it's a very strange movie, I think, in a lot of ways. But yeah, let's get into this. So. Yeah, a lot of the horror is coming from her being an image, as you say, like to sort of counter some of the problems that Tom has, right? Like her being this perfect image and not moving a lot, and like we'll get to these shots where she's in the center of this really frenetic stuff, but there's no animation in her whatsoever, which is part of that's inherent to anime, but I think that's part of what is so creepy and weird about the movie is that so much of stuff is going on around her that she has no control of, right? So I think for me, that's one of the reasons why I'd like this should be animated. I think if you were to do a live action version of it, you'd have to completely reconsider what it's like for her to not have agency. You'd have to do with some other kind of effect. But any thoughts about that? Like why should this be animated and not, Darren Aronofsky just fully redoing it instead of just kind of borrowing ideas from Black Swan? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the tub scene from Requiem for a Dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shot, he just sort of redid it. That's an interesting choice, because I mean that's an interesting topic to bring up, because I was during it, and maybe this is just because of my thoughts about anime. I'm going to say it like you did because it sounded fancy. I would be interested in seeing a live action version of this.
Oh,
I'm
really?
fascinated by the constant rug pulls of what is real, what is not. You think you know what the situation is, and then it pulls back, and that's a part of the TV show that she's in. I mean, I find all of that absolutely captivating. That is the coolest thing about the movie. So I'd like to see, but I think that's just me trying to make something that is a little more no pun intended foreign to me, anime, into something that more recognizable. But I love that. I mean, that was my absolute favorite part, how the reality just constantly shifts, because you feel you feel insane like she does. Like even before the psychosis sets in,
Right.
It's constantly shifting like that, which is great.
Yeah, it gives you this sense that you're not really in control of the narrative. Scenes end a lot sooner than you have the rhythm in you to you're like, hey, oh, this should be wrapping. Oh no, gosh, and it's just gone from you. Yeah, these really crazy transitions, and some of them are clever. Like at one point, we have like a police car, investigating the murder, and then it turns into a kid like riding like a Fisher Price version of a police car through, and then some of them are just completely jarring, and eventually, you're not sure, like, am I seeing the same day over again? Is this Groundhog Day or any of that? Yeah.
There is, I mean, to that question of to what end this story being animated, the fact that they tried to make it as or imagined it as a live action film and tore it apart is, I think, important because
Right.
I wonder if today it's easier for me to imagine this movie as live action just because of the nature of visual effects, the visual effects process, that this story being told 30 years ago, this stuff was effortless in animation, right? It was just everything you wanted to create. And I think for the last 25 years, it may have been hard for me to imagine this movie breaking the sort of reality seal in a way that the animation does so easily. Maybe I can see it, but I almost don't want to. Like, there's something about the model design, the J-pop stars, the way animation takes this culture and heightens it. And I don't think it would be jarring at all when people stabbed in a live action version. And in this, it's jarring. It's jarring when you see the naked bodies after a period of this being about pop star and actress. Like that's the stuff that I think is impactful because it's using this language that is generally assumed to be for younger audience. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I don't think K-pop Demon Hunters exists without this movie. Like, it feels very ahead of its time. And like, obviously that's a different version of this, but that's something that I was thinking about when I was watching. I was like, oh, I'm sure this was an influence in some way, shape, or form. And I know, going off of Tommy, like I guess I hadn't really thought about it as a live action version, but as long as Sam Levinson isn't directing it, I think I'm on board.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, there's this idea in animation theory that I was first introduced to by Matt Groening, who said that each of the characters should have their own really distinct silhouette. So you could tell, Krusty from Homer just without even really, hearing their voices or anything like that. But here anime doesn't quite, obey those Americanized sort of rules. So we have these three girls who are in this pop group together, this J-pop group, who are pretty interchangeable, right? I mean, like I don't think that totally interchangeable. It's really, really difficult to tell them apart. And then, if you haven't, hopefully you've all seen the movie that you're listening to, but once we figure out like that, okay, Mima is going to be stalked by her own self. I mean, that's what we are led to believe is happening. You can't quite even you tell these people apart anyways, like which one is the evil one, which is the good one. And then when we reveal the quote unquote real solution until the bubble popping at the end, the balloon popping at the end, that it is her assistant Rumi, who the first time I saw it, I wasn't suspecting at all. Right. But like the way that animation is able to meld those two people together in this really weird way where just tiny little, like, Rumi looks so distinct before she becomes the killer, but then just like tiny 10% tweak is like, oh god, they're like twins, that would be, if someone could do that in live action, well, I would probably have a heart attack in the theater and
die. There's another movie that another sort of class of movies that I think this movie sort of is seminal in the definition of, and that is this sort of the films that deal with the ownership of a manufactured person. Like we've talked about it in the case of like Frankenstein, right? And those kinds of films, but also like Simone. Why am I talking about Simone? Like they manufacture an AI character who then becomes adopted by her audience, right? And outshines the creator. That's echoes of this movie all up and down. And this movie was vastly better than Simone, but it was but the echoes are in there. And I think the movie is sort of a dedication to the parasocial relationship 25 years before that word was a thing we were thinking about. And I think that's a really interesting kind of place for this movie to live.
Yeah, so the movie kind of goes through a couple of different acts of who we think the bad guy is. At first, we think it is this guy in the audience who is darker and scarier than everybody else and uglier, and so we think that the movie is about this fan who doesn't want her to become something else than what she was. But that in of itself is scary, and then it could be, you know, her having this split from herself and not wanting to become an adult and not wanting to become this image that she had wanted when she was younger and innocent, but now she doesn't want, right? So it goes through a bunch of stages of what Pete's talking about, of like this manufactured image and who has the right to change that person or to argue against that or to destroy it, right? So can Mima, who has created this new image of herself, is she even allowed to destroy her own image? It seems like she's not allowed to.
Yeah.
It's also a little alienating. I don't quite understand the pop idol business of Perfect Blue, in that she's a huge star and yet she's on the subway.
Oh yeah.
Like she's just walking around the street, and I didn't understand, are people not recognizing her, or is a pop idol something different? It was, I mean, that didn't hurt my enjoyment of it. It just made another level of what are you in the people's eyes.
Most of those people didn't even have faces, Tom, so you don't really have to worry about it.
They really didn't. Yeah. They're just stumbling around.
Right.
Going, yeah.
So we do get into some of the ideas of like dissociative identity disorder, which is super interesting because her character on this Law and Order type TV show is experiencing that. Although it's much more graphic. I don't think Japanese TV has full frontal nudity. You know, there's something off about that too, just as an aside. Like is that really what this show is like, or is she completely imagining it? But I feel animation, especially the kind that Satoshi Kon does, where the line between what's memory and what is reality is so thin. If you did like this, you know, go and see his film Paprika, which is crazy, or a really surprisingly nice movie he does called Millennium Actress, which is about 40 years of this actor's life, and she, you know, we go into her movies and into her thoughts and all this stuff. But yeah, like this is a really interesting depiction of dissociative identity disorder. We often see that sort of from the outside and like see someone, you know, being treated by the doctors or something, or it's like revealed at the end. But here, about halfway through, we start saying, like, now let's experience what it is to have dissociative identity disorder. That might be, you know, because of its animated nature.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they end up using DID as a tool to describe the experience when you have this person who was packaged and sold as a product, that when she tries to take her own sort of authorship and agency back, every other party in the system fights to keep animating her. And it's that, you know, fans who like need to keep her old image that they have of her, the industry that has obviously been profiting from her, and then Rumi, who becomes, but the fact that it's dissociative identity disorder that is the bubble in which all of those things live, like that's the tool we have to use to describe the enormous emotional toll of these parasocial relationships and real relationships that exist. That's horrible, you guys. What are we doing to people is kind of the weight of this argument. And that there is horror in this movie. There is stuff that's kind of, you know, that's animated gore, but mostly the horror isn't a monster. It's this like gap between the image that they've created and a human, and the violence that erupts when you try to close that gap, when you try to regain humanity. And that's something that, I don't know is unique to animated, to the animation of this thing, but it is certainly unique to Kon's vision and the ultimate identity of this film. It's really torturous. And the fact that, let me just rant on for just a second. The fact that there's this kind of for kids irony here that the bows and the bubble gum and all of that sort of really manufactured naivete that she's trying to get out from under, and that it's designed for a childlike audience, and that it's absolutely sold to adults. And maybe that's the answer to the end of the equation. Mm-hmm. Why is there misogynist imagery in here? Because that's the audience. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. And sorry, Chelsea.
No, I'm going to go to a kind of dark place.
Yeah, right.
But
it's in the name of our show.
Right. But I think this movie does some very, talking about like the doppelganger, does some very, especially with when you mentioned the last line of the movie, does some weird, like, again, tonally adding so much levity. It does this weird infantilization, and keeping her seeming very young, and she's trying to do these like adult roles, but we want to keep her young, and how sort of the doppelganger acts, how she and at the end, and it's sort of like, oh, we want to keep her young, but then they're fetishizing her on that TV show. Very disturbing, very creepy, and upsets me every time I watch it, because it's like, this is not, speaking of the misogyny, I'm like, this is not what we should be fetishizing this, they're trying to make you do that as the viewer. I feel like I don't like that, but I love the movie. It's like, oh, this is some brave shit happening right now.
Right. And like that's part of the question that I have, right? Because so it turns out that the villain, the shadow character, right, who often is the opposite of the hero, like has the same problem as the hero, but deals with it in a different way, right? That Mima wants to grow up, but she is afraid of letting go of her youth, so she ends up doing all this adult stuff. Rumi is the same thing, but she becomes a serial killer. But the movie also seems to be saying that like she's not attractive enough to be allowed to do, like because she's overweight or 10 years too old, like her putting on the little girl bow and the little mini skirt or whatever is like this monstrous evil thing. And like, again, that's interesting. I'm just not sure if the movie knows it's saying that. But like at the end when it's this is the mirror of the two people and they look the same, but then when you really see Rumi and she's like 15 pounds heavier than she should, it's that's pretty dark stuff. So I'd like to think that the movie knows it's doing that, but I don't always know.
That's a grim indictment, Kynan. Yeah, I think you're probably right. That's pretty grim.
Yeah.
Hachi-machi. All right. Well, any other thoughts about Perfect Blue?
Did we sufficiently address the Aronofsky stuff? Because like, I don't know. I feel like watching this again, thinking about, Aronofsky has been on the record of saying he's just fully homage territory.
Yeah.
And it's some
Black Swan.
Black Swan too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Black Swan and Requiem.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point, when is homage just a straight up lift?
I'm okay with it. I don't know. I'm okay. I think you could have both.
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind it. And I also thought there is another horror movie that I think pays homage to this movie, but I don't want to say what it is in case people here haven't. You might know the movie I'm talking about, but in case people here haven't seen it, I don't want to say the name because it is a big. There's something about it that's a big reveal, huge reveal in it. But I don't know if you guys have covered it, so I don't want to bring it up.
No. Is it Psycho? Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho?
No.
No. Damn it! Now I know.
It's one that came. It's one from 2000. I believe it's 2000, so it was closely after this one.
All right.
That. Upon this rewatch, I thought, oh my God, this director is definitely lifting some big things from this movie.
Well, I'm excited for that. All right. Well, moving into the world of stop motion, we have Mad God by Phil Tippett. I feel like you have to hear the whole production saga of this before we get into this. So Phil Tippett is a master stop motion and effects artist, and he was working on RoboCop when he was doing this as his side project, Mad God. And then he was brought in by a director named Steven Spielberg to be the the supervisor for the claymation on Jurassic Park, and he said, "Oh my God, I'm now extinct," which Spielberg now used in Jurassic Park. He said he got that line from Phil Tippett. So he put this on the back burner completely and said, "Well, I am supervising the animation on Jurassic Park, but everything is changing. There is no world for grown-up stop motion anymore, even if there is any for kids." And so he picked this back up in the late 2010s and used a little thing called Kickstarter to get the rest of this done and raise $120,000. And then by that point, even though he was older and could not have the same kind of stamina, he had an army of young volunteers who were coming and doing the majority of the work for him. So the budget was, $124,000. It's picked up by Shudder. And people had been waiting for this like it was, any number of partially completed animated films that took 20 or 30 years, like Richard Williams' movies. Yeah. So the movie itself is about a little explorer guy. We don't know a lot about him. He's placed Planet of the Apes 2 style down into a hellscape that gets deeper and deeper and deeper. He sees some terrible monsters and some faceless drones who are destroyed by their monstrous world. And about halfway through, he's caught by the monsters. They open up his brain, read his memories on a scanner, and harvest some kind of larva thing out of him, which gets taken to some kind of wizard who then destroys the larva thing and makes some kind of magic gold dust and starts the entire process of the world's hellscape over again. Does that sound about right?
Very, very competent description.
Yeah. Alrighty. Great. So any access to grind with Mad God?
Oh, Kynan.
I was excited to see a movie that made H.R. Giger seem appetizing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I started watching this movie eating lunch, and I immediately realized this is a terrible, like, the soup went into the refrigerator. I think my only axe to grind, because it's visually stunning, it's so gross, is at one point when we lose the main guy and it starts to become live action mixed with stop motion, part of me just kind of wanted to keep seeing that one guy go through the entire movie. But I assume that some of the move to live action was, at some point we have to finish this movie. I mean, it's because especially now knowing how long it took. Yeah, at what point, and I think it's probably on purpose. I just didn't. You're just sort of hanging on. I don't understand what's going on. I'm desperately trying to find meaning and understanding other than just human toil and the crushings of society. But then when larva monsters start showing up, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I shared that axe with you about the live action sequence. So yeah, and it's like, oh well, it's well done, I guess, and so it turns out that the little man has been sent down there by Alex Cox, the director of Sid and Nancy, and
Repo Man.
What's Repo Man? Yeah, I was like, what's his bigger movie? Yeah, Alex Cox from Repo Man. Like, oh, that's all interesting, but yeah, I wish there was not any live action in here. I wish it were all stop motion, but yeah, that add 17 years to the production.
Yeah. I'm gonna sort of piggyback off something Tommy said. I have to choose my words wisely because I think, like, the hardcore horror bros, like, as a woman, if you dislike something they like, you're see you next Tuesday. So I got to be really careful about it.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because these visuals are so. I could just, like, literally eat this movie up with how graphic and incredible and how these creatures are designed, and it's just like such a feast for the eyes. And and the ears. The sound design in this is incredible. But what kills me is the loss or lack of narrative thread. We're so strong, and then it just like drops off, and then it's sort of like it disappears, and it's what happened to the assassin? Well, there's more assassins, and then wait, whose POV are we in now? What it's almost becomes vignettes instead of, and listen, you don't have to give me a traditional narrative, but I really crave a story to back these incredible visuals because I want something to follow. But listen, if you just want to do vignettes, that's fine. But it kills me that happens. And even like I've seen this movie several times and I'm still looking for like, okay, we still don't have it. Or like, I just don't know what happened. It's sort of like, where did it go? Because it's there at the start. Why can't we follow it through?
Yeah,
I think that's a big point. So I don't agree with that. I really do like the movie a lot, but I could see that if the beginning weren't so incredibly visually catching, and you're following this guy, and they make you really care for this guy whose eyes you can't even see, etc. So I could see how for a lot of people it's like, whew, that just goes off a cliff. Whereas another movie could have cut between this guy and a bunch of vignettes or whatever, and just been use this guy as like a little clothespin for these things. But that's not what they promise you at the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's sort of like an excuse. It's like, hey, we're not going to give you a narrative. Like we didn't figure out this narrative thread, so here's the Band-Aid for it, so we can get away with not delivering that. But
yeah,
in the visual, I tend to forgive it because the visuals are so incredible. This movie's incredible. So it's like really hard to, it's such a feat that, I get it, but it's the axe I gotta grind. I'm sorry for all the people who love this movie.
No, that's a more eloquent way of what I was trying to say is I end up respecting the movie more than I end up enjoying the movie. Like the movie is a triumph, but is it something that I want to sit and watch? I want to watch it up to the point where I guess he's about to set the bomb, I guess, with the briefcase. Yeah. And then everything goes off the rails, which is interesting. But I like the idea of more of a through line. And it seems to be, going through a lot of the different parts of living in society in this hellscape. Of going to work, the medical system, briefcases, I don't know, just all sorts of these things. And then at some point there's a child larva. Pete?
That's reproduction. That's fatherhood, Tommy.
Yeah. Well, there's so much of the of what I've read said this was loosely based on Dante's Inferno, and I Kynan, knowing your love of Dante's Inferno, I was wondering if how much of that you see.
That had not occurred to me until you had just said it. But of course that makes sense, I suppose. Yeah. Because they are little, I was thinking about them more like video game levels, but of course that's borrowed, I suppose, from Dante. So I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the deeper you go, there's whole new themes to the world and different kinds of suffering. So of course, once you say that, you're right, of course, Pete. Yeah, but we just don't know what their sins are. Yeah. Yeah. But they have little tiny the ironic punishments, the malabolgia from Dante, that we have these people who are shoveling feces, right? And they're not allowed to play in the feces. And they're electrocuted whenever they have too much fun with the feces. Yeah, that's the ironic punishments of hell. Yeah.
This is the movie that, your best friend is like really good at stop motion, and they start this movie in high school and they force you to sit down and watch it, and 83 minutes and it's like never ending relentlessness, and you're like watching it and you forget why you're watching it, and then you start right about minute 28, you're like, is this friendship really valuable to me? Like, but this friend has all of the skills of Phil Tippett, right? Like, it's like, oh, this is not like, the craft is not horror. It's excellent.
Mhm.
It's that I don't know if I can do the friendship anymore. And that, I think, is the challenge I had with this movie. If I were to boil it down, I think that relentlessness of this
Yeah.
movie is not a feature. It's like it's a crutch. And I too long for anchor, something to hold on to that doesn't require me to have done the psychosocial homework before watching this movie. And so it's one that I can appreciate. I was, from a horror perspective, my God, man, it's doing the work. It is doing the
Yeah.
work. There is some truly unsettling stuff going on in here as an indictment of, industrial capitalism and creation as consumption. Like I get it as an indictment of the systems that we have created that then take our livelihoods and our lives from us. Like I get it. And it was an 83-minute movie that felt about 76 minutes too long. For me, it was clearly not made for me. This was not made for me.
That's so funny. I know we're still in the axes portion.
That was it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's one of the things that I appreciated about this movie, and I've made that complaint so many times about unrelenting horror of other movies we've seen on this show.
Yes,
but I really appreciated as we were. I'm like, give us some slapstick or something. Give us some witty banter, some romance.
A sheep detective, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but for this one, I was like, wow, I'm really glad that this little guy isn't meeting some talking parrot down there. It was like, oh, I'm your buddy. Let me take you through here. And like, I was so glad that they were like, this is hell. This is a really, really great vision of hell. There's no end to it except to go to some other room or, of course, some other circle. I feel stupid not noticing that. But yeah, there's nothing else but to keep moving forward. There's no lesson he learns here. He doesn't save one of them who goes back to the surface. Like instead, he just looks through this room and sees two different types of creatures being tortured. One's like a teddy bear and one's a doll, and they're both being tortured. He's like, well, that's not on my map, so I'm just going to continue on. And for me, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's what this should be. Yeah, no Hank Azaria side character.
Oh my God! But imagine if there was.
I do love the commitment to little to no dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish it was, because we get a little bit of it later on. I kind of wish we had none of it. But
I wish we had no dialogue. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's pretty close, right? Yeah, so in your axis section, you got to a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about, because a lot of it was, well, this is so good or that's so good, but no. But yeah, the character designs, I think, are unlike anything else. It doesn't feel derivative. A lot of times you watch something with creature designs and you're like, well, they don't know they're doing Giger, or something like that. And these feel like completely unique. And dozens of different types of creatures and different types of monsters who were all monstrous in their own unique way. So you could see how it could take a long time, not just because of budget or whatever, because these are well thought out designs that aren't just like, okay, on this level they're going to wear a hat now. It's the same guys from above, but now they've got purple jumpsuits on or something. They are dozens and dozens, and I can imagine fans, now that this movie is made, going through and cataloging them all and giving them fan names or that sort of thing. But yeah, so can we talk about maybe some of your favorite little crappy guys?
Yes, I mean, you can tell he loves Hieronymus Bosch because it's very that.
Mm-hmm,
it's very that, especially when you're talking about Dante's Inferno. That's a big inspiration for Bosch too. Favorite, hands down, titty butthole monster. That's my guy or gal or non-binary. That's
that is a crazy idea. Yeah, way late in the movie. Like, whoa, yeah,
so crazy. But
and there's some kind of overlords. So I wasn't aware of how much Phil Tippett had done, and the Star Wars nerds might be mad at me because they don't know how to pronounce this. But he had the AT-AT walkers or the AT-AT walkers. I don't know what you call them.
Yeah.
AT-AT. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All-terrain
you
armored transport, Kynan.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine a version of that that's a titty butthole. Like that's really interesting stuff. Yeah, that's horrifying.
And that definitely
else?
should have been in Grogu.
Wow.
Wow.
That's when Tommy was eating. Was that guy?
I had just gotten the soup back out.
Like I got my lunch, for that portion. I was like, oh yeah.
I would have liked because it starts to get, especially when the real guy shows up, it starts to it's in a bunker and it's having this real World War I, World War II kind of imagery. And I was kind of hoping that, kind of like in Starship Troopers, that there would be versions of monsters for each kind of different things that we were using in warfare. But
gotcha. Well,
maybe there were, and I missed it. But
Phil Tippett did Starship Troopers, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which famously also introduced a giant butthole monster.
That's right.
If it's not broke.
That's right.
Is Phil Tippett English?
No.
I was wondering because there can be different definitions of the word mad in the title. Mad God can be, it's a very angry God in the beginning, yelling at people in Leviticus, after I assume that that's the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, I think
in the very beginning. Okay, that he destroys, and then he screams at us in Leviticus. But mad can be angry, but also mean insane.
Right.
And I think both are true for whatever God would create this type of world or imagery.
That's a really good point that I hadn't thought of, because as I start to watch the movie, I'm like, okay, which one is the mad God? My favorite little guy is the guy on the poster who has the real human teeth. He kind of looks like Slimer, but he's got the brown, he's brown, he's got the legs and everything. And like, you assume that he's in charge and this is the guy. And then that lasts for quite some time. We're like, okay, he's going to go down and do this thing, and that's not going to work. He's going to come back and have to beat that guy again, but that's not the case at all. And so there, is there a mad God in the movie or not? I mean, I guess that by the end of it, maybe we think it's the Alex Cox character, because that's part of the cruelest things that happens is near the end we see that he's put the little guy down. He's just waiting up there. He's like, oh, I wonder what this guy's going through. It turns out after 76 minutes too long of him going through absolute hell. Like, I wonder if this one will be
that anchor didn't quite work for didn't quite fully deliver.
Oh, I like that a lot. Did you have a favorite or least favorite little creepy little thing, piece of garbage?
I don't know that I could pick just one, Kynan. I did find, I mean, I think pre-brutal vivisection assassin, the main little character, this is the two points. The main little character was affectionately called, I think, the assassin.
Yeah, and
right. And then the little larva baby, I'm going to say the larva baby, they called that the homunculus, right?
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting. And then they put the homunculus in a meat grinder. And, by then I guess I'm on board. So I thought that little newborn larva thing was a really interesting sort of way for the snake to eat its proverbial tail in this, just to get us to the next level. And
right.
And so I guess I'll land on that. Ugh.
Not that I'm saying that this movie is on the same level, but I mean, do you have these types of issues with something like Eraserhead, or where it's just
no? But I'll tell you one that I do. That I couldn't stop thinking about. It's the Tetsuo, the Iron Man, which I found deeply disturbing, and I couldn't. And these movies are, like, we talk about them being in conversation with one another. They definitely are in conversation, right? Like Tetsuo is this intimate sort of cellular, one man, one apartment, one psychosexual transformation. Like it is this body becomes a new thing, and Mad God is the cosmic version of that inversion. And I think they're both fascinating. Like, look, we're going to have a discussion about the engine of creation, and we're going to do it in some of the most grotesque images that you can imagine, and we're not going to give you a narrative. It's just an exploration, and that's and I didn't care for that either, surprising no one. So
Right. Well, it's like Eraserhead, I say, trying to defend the movie one last time.
Noble effort.
But speaking of creation, and what I think Mad God is trying to say ultimately is about that is one of the reasons why it needs to be stop motion, is because we can feel the creation of these little creature things somewhere, right? Even if we don't ever see the actual creator. So to move on to stop motion, where that is made explicit, this is Robert Morgan's 2023 film about a stop motion animator's assistant. This is Aisling Franciosi as Ella, who is assisting her mother, Suzanne, who is a legendary stop motion filmmaker, making what she knows is her last film. And the mother has some kind of arthritis or neurological problem that's not allowing her to use her hands in the same way. She has a stroke early on in the film, and Ella is trying to finish her mother's film for her before the demon of creativity leads her astray, or perhaps to her saving grace in making her own film, but with disastrous results, luckily for us. So any axes to grind of stop motion, which is a live action film, I should clarify for people who didn't get to see it. So live action film, but with a substantial amount of hybrid live action animation mixture. But yes, any axes to grind?
My first axes I tried to explain to my son, who's just home for summer from film school. I was explaining we were watching Mad God, which was stop motion, and then I said, then we're watching stop motion, and he said, but what's it called? It was a real who's on first kind of an exchange. So the title is definitely an axe to grind. My only axe on this thing, and I have to say, after you tied the boat anchor to my ankle, threw me in the river with Mad God, you cut the rope for this one. I feel like you are totally redeemed. I had a overwhelmingly good time with this movie. Right up until the gold box at the end, I was trying to figure out if I really understand what is happening here. So I look forward to being educated on the entire looping narrative of this thing. But overall, man,
another one of those.
I thought, and I think, so we'll talk about that. I don't want to screw up my axe and give it all away. But yeah, that would be it.
Great.
I was wondering if there's a lot of these movies, and, Perfect Blue, the idea of an artist being so consumed by their art that they lose their grip on reality. And when I realized that it was that kind of movie, I was a little bit like, okay, we're going down this. But the stop motion of it all brings such a new, fresh idea to it that I was more than happy to watch this kind of psychosis again. So it's a really good. I didn't know that I had another one in me, and I did, which was great.
Yeah.
I at first I was confused because I was like, I don't know if this movie meets the brief.
Right.
But when you explain that now the process of it, then I thought, okay, this does fit into that. And also, as I said earlier, I love a hybrid that involves animation. I think I'm a big fan of this movie, but I'm sort of in line with Pete, where I feel like I love what this story is doing. I love what it's saying. I love, the creative constipation crisis this woman has. And the ending, I think, does not deliver for me, unfortunately. And this is the second or third time I've seen it, and it just doesn't land for me. So that's my sort of like bummer.
Which part? The egg or
the box?
Which part? The box.
Yeah. So the very, very end. Yeah.
Very, 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 very end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know, Pete, if I have quite an answer, except that we've seen the little box before, but from the point of view of the little tiny girl.
Where she was trying to get in the box.
Trying to get in the box. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, some kind of coffin or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, you've been trying to get out of the box. Like, you've been trying to get out of the box.
Put yourself back in the box.
What? No. After this journey? Oh, killing me.
Right. One of the things I think that this movie does well is, in a lot of films about tortured artists, they're in a medium where we can't really see what they do. So we can't really see what a writer does. We can only kind of see what a painter does. And frankly, movies tell you that you can that they could teach you what actors do, but they can't really. But we kind of, we kind of pretend that a movie can show you what an actor does, but not exactly. But this one really feels for a medium that I've only done very briefly, any stop motion. I've only done like 8 seconds of stop motion in my life. Like, I think we really get the feeling of, especially with the early Act 1 stuff of the mother, trying to place these things and really trying to be perfectionist with it, and seeing how time consuming it is. This one really puts me into what I think I could understand of these characters' work, and be like, I could see how doing this work can make you go crazy and want to kill anybody, especially people who make money doing it. So I think that does really, really well. So yeah, I'm glad it lined up, Chelsea. I was taking sort of a risk putting it in here, knowing that it's not fully stop motion. But yeah, what do we think about the stop motion creatures and the interactive, the hybrid animation part? Like, can we see this in another medium? Could this been CG? Like any of those kind of questions. Like, why is it important that we have these, and how effective are these little creatures? I know they're no mad god, but
I love them. And I think they're kind of brilliant and real fucked up and made of meat. And like, what? Like, I thank God they're not CG. Like, I'm just or AI or something. Like, I thought they were great.
Yeah, I think that it would have been a betrayal to the story of her, like, artist's crisis to make them CG, right? Like, we need her to be devastated under the weight of the toil that is stop motion, and to have to, when her mother says at the beginning, we have to do it again. We're only like 4 minutes into the movie, and I am crushed on her behalf, right? So I'm on team psychosis from the beginning. Like, it is inevitable that she's going to lose it. And I think that's the work. That's the work you have. And I think part of what the movie is saying is, look, there are people for whom this work is perfect, and there are people for whom it is great grief. And we get to see both of them in this movie. So the creatures, as a manifestation of that, like that, she starts with the just wax, and then she moves to the steak as the flesh, and then she moves to the fox carcass. That journey is deeply unsettling, but what a gruesome idea. And none of those creatures are attractive or cute or Studio Leica. Like, they're all horrible. And that, again, is part of the definition of her psychic decay. And I think that just makes it work better, stronger every route.
Yeah, there is something in the main little creation of the little girl who's lost in the woods, where she is repulsive, but has enough of the kind of features you would want in an animated character that you sympathize with her. So it's both like, I don't like looking at you, right, but I don't want you to get eaten by the ash man, and it can have it both ways, where because as the movie goes on, you're going to start seeing the little girl more, and you're going to see her being more quote unquote realistic, as the little creepy little girl says, and then being made out of human flesh and all sorts of crazy things like that, where so you're not taking her from looking like Cinderella, the Disney Cinderella, to something horrible. She always looks horrible, but she's been horrible in this really weird way. And then to see her, realized in real life, in and of itself is monstrous. Without like, what have you done to my little girl? She's always been like that, but now she's real. Yeah. The another thing about the movie, I love the first act, like how quickly it gets us in. The mother and daughter dressed like mad scientists, as they're doing this. They have these long gloves and these smocks. They look like Dr. Frankenstein or Dr. Rotwang from Metropolis or something.
Yeah.
And so it's like getting, right off the bat about like creation and what it is to have that power, and to abuse that power, right? So the mother is like, I'm a creator here and you're not a creator, and so I can abuse you. She doesn't say that explicitly, but like, in order to create, I need to break a few eggs, even if it's my own daughter. And just all this cool subtext that's right off the bat that just gets you right in there. And then by the end of it, up until the box, you're like, wow, we've been laying this path since the beginning really effectively. Any thoughts about that, about creation, and about like, the horrors of creation before we even get to the psychosis part?
It is interesting that one of her continued hallucinations, if you want to call them that, is that she is made of clay. It's the embalming. What is it?
Embalming
Mortician's wax.
Mortician's
wax.
Right.
Yeah, that she's made of that. And later on, it's let's see. All great artists have to put themselves in their work. Yeah. So the idea that she is sort of treated as an object by her mother, by her friend, she thinks she's going to be going to the studio to animate things, and instead she's just making a zillion eyes. She's just sort of put through the ringer in all of these things as if she's not a real person. So in a way, she's just sort of stumbling through the woods like her character is the entire time.
To me, it was sort of an interesting commentary on when you are the child of a famous artist and you're trying to make your way, but you're also doing the same profession as them. So I think so much about like these prolific filmmakers that have children that are making movies and really trying to make a name for yourself, and how difficult that is, and how, like, when she goes to the studio, they don't care that you're essentially like a Nepo baby. They're going to make you start in this room, but they're just going to steal your idea and then make you do this hard, this sort of manual labor. But the pressure, I really, kind of understood that pressure she was under to, I'm trying to create something. And you just took this, like her anger is justified. I feel like, I don't know if killing them is justified, but her anger towards that, definitely justified, of like trying to get away. And they're like, oh, and mommy's not here anymore to like, protect you, essentially.
But that's where I was gonna go, and I think the movie sets up, I think, really effectively Ella as puppet from the beginning, like not just metaphorical puppet. She is the literal puppet for her mom's hands at the jump, right? And I think the film uses that medium, this sort of control of a body that isn't yours, from the beginning, so that by the time we realize that the idea is inverting, it hits so much heavier, because she has been an instrument herself, an instrument empty of any ideas of its own, right? Like she's practically just the ear with meat wrapped around it. That's it. And I think the movie, it is absolutely playing the hits on just sort of the grief cycle, but where it's playing the hit and with an outstanding solo is that idea that it had seeded this concept that she is an armature with meat on it. And I didn't get it until the last armature with meat being put on it, like when she was trying to carve out her own flesh, which was gruesome, in order to finish this work. Like that was the only thing she had to contribute, was her own flesh. And I thought that was outstanding. That was just outstanding horror.
She's pulling out her own flesh to put into it, as her boyfriend and her boyfriend's sister, who are artists, but in this way that Ella won't accept, because you go to an office, so you're not an artist, as they're breaking down her apartment door going, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to pull your own flesh out and put that onto the armature in order to be an artist, right? And she's like, no, you're all crazy. You have to do this. You have to be this way. I wonder if on a second viewing, some of this stuff might play out more, because Ella has some flaws at the beginning as well that aren't necessarily emphasized. I mean, so to wake up her boyfriend the first time you see him, she covers his nose and mouth to wake him up, which which is horrifying. It's cute when nobody gets killed. Super
I
cute.
forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah. But that
So
becomes how she kills him at the end. But he wakes up and she's like, oh, I got to get home. I have to be back before my mother wakes up. And he says, I feel used. And again, it's like, oh, it's funny for your boyfriend to say I feel used when nobody gets killed. But then by the end of it, Ella as puppet master is using everybody in her life for her own purposes. Yeah. There's something off about her.
Oh, totally off. And the fact that, like, I mean, can we go back to, like, Morgan is a master animator working in a film about animation. And is there something to this statement that she's just not very good at making appealing images in the quality of her work? Like, I think that it's everything that we get is very smooth and beautiful, and it looks like it has all the sort of technical merit, I guess, but her sculpture is grotesque, and I wonder what that's saying. Like, especially when you compare it to these other two who are artists in their own right, and they go to their office, but it makes me think that they're probably better at creating art than she is.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be part of the statement that I don't know that I've reconciled with.
Yeah, I love that we see the boyfriend sister's work. She's showing, hey, here's our new ad campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And we could see it from Ella's point of view, and she just looks down at this. She's like, ugh. But we see it, and it's nothing we could see is like awful. They're not working for weapons manufacturers, selling them to kids or something like that. Just like, oh, these are just cute little things. But we could see it from her point of view, like, ugh, I would never want to do it. I want to do stuff that kills people.
I love the snobbery. That's so real. That's so real. Like,
and you can imagine Robert Morgan, knowing what you know of his work, if you sort of Google around a little and see what's available online, like that he might have that same kind of snobbery, but to put that into the character of someone who turned out to be the villain is very interesting. I think
it's self-aware for sure.
Very self-aware. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he does like Aardman and like chances are he does, but also. The movie starts with this really interesting thing. Maybe I was really paying attention to it a lot because we're thinking about animation this week. But the opening is of Ella after this egg imagery, her like at some kind of dance floor, and we have all these like strobe lights on her. And strobe lights are really interesting because especially when they're from different directions, because basically you can animate a face, and so when it's from one angle versus another angle, and they're kind of blurring. I don't know if this is too nerdy about animation, but people compare the first cave drawings to animation. Have you seen this? Like the cave drawings that would have 8 legs, and they would go, why do these cave drawings from 40,000 years ago have 8 legs? And it's because if you have a torch next to them, they would animate, So yeah. So, her face is kind of like that. And they start putting in little frames that are like sinister in there.
Yeah.
But it's like, just based on where you look at it, like one frame at a time, she's perfectly fine person versus like this evil person in them. It's super interesting way to start a shot off about your main character.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that nerdy shit. Give it to me. Keep it coming, Kynan.
It made me think of what was it, the cyclotron?
Those little
the zoetropes.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Very
exactly. Cool. And then I also like this idea that she thinks that she'll be freed by taking LSD, which this is a really big argument a lot of artists have, obviously. Disney animators used to get that question in the 60s when people were going to school for animation. They'd be saying, what were you on when you were doing Dumbo? And they were like, you dirty hippie, get away from me. I would never do anything like that, And I love that sequence, which is, I guess, the start of when we start to see her having this perfect blue sort of dissociative identity sort of thing. But there's this crazy shot where she goes into this party and someone has a stop motion of a ventriloquist dummy on the wall, and she's standing in front of the projector light and looking at it, but she doesn't actually block any of the projector light because if she was, we couldn't see the dummy, so it's this really cool, trippy sort of stuff there. And then it turns out, of course, that she hasn't taken any LSD.
She's just tripping on life.
Pure Ella. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
When you put these together, did you have any intention to create a series about movies in which the body is itself all material?
No, I mean, I hadn't seen Mad God or Stop Motion.
That's
so I'm
right.
glad when these things line up.
They totally
Yeah.
did, right? Like Mima is her body is all commoditized, and Tippett's entire hell is creatures for meat and refuse, and Elle is augmenting puppets with pieces of herself. Like all of that, I think is a really fascinating. What is that, like, part of the genre that I just am not aware of, that they all have something to do with using the flesh in art?
Yeah, that's probably in Happy Feet as well. You know, it's probably there, and we're not thinking about it. No, but I think probably animators think about that more than the rest of us, right? About like designing these things from scratch, and every single line. If you add a line to Mima's face, you have to draw it 12 times a second over and over and over again. So really, really well considered designs and creation. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're thinking constantly about, we are all shapes, we are all mud.
Raw material for somebody else's vision. Gross.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this general idea between animation and horror? I know there's more out there, but these are the first ones we really done on the show. So hopefully we'll bring some more in.
I loved this. I thought it was great. And also, as someone who loves animation, Kynan, I just want to, if you haven't seen Attack of the Demons by Eric Powers, I highly recommend it. It's on Shudder, and it's all done with cut paper.
Oh, wow.
Really incredible. His work is so amazing. So, and it's genre too. So I highly recommend that.
I love that stuff. I love it when you could see what the materials they're working with, and even be like, God, how long did it take them to?
Yeah, he just,
I don't have the patience for this.
He also just did a documentary that talks about like how he does it and how he did it and all that stuff. So highly recommend. But watch that first just to get his style.
Awesome.
Great.
No, I loved it too. Yeah, I thought this was outstanding, Kynan. It was. I actually was texting folks last night saying I can't wait to talk about this. Kynan did the work this week. Oh my God, these movies are messed up. Well done.
Messed up.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and I will say, well, thank you. Yeah, and I will say, you know, I did tell our folks here that one of these months when Pete sets me up with 3 of his movies that are just so awful and terrible and scary, that I reserve the right to pull the card of we'll do some more animated, but they'll be, you know, animated horror for children, wuss horror that I get to just enjoy.
I can't wait.
I co-sign this.
What scares a 5-year-old? It still scares me. But with that, next month, our curriculum is being set by Chelsea Stardust. Chelsea, what have you got for us?
What I felt like these were 3 sort of heavy movies, so I'm kind of changing it up just a little, just with like 2 of the 3 of these. But under the theme, because this is for July and the Rocket's red glare is this theme, and obviously the basically only through line of these 3 films are fireworks. Just saying. So I was like, let's lean into the holiday. So we're going to be all 3 different decades. The 1981 Brian De Palma gem Blowout.
Oh,
nice.
The 1997 Jim Gillespie I Know What You Did Last Summer. And because we skipped it, the 2006 James Wong masterpiece Final Destination 3.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh my
So
God.
3 basically summer films that to me that I wanted to throw out there. I'm sure there will be access aplenty, but I love these 3 movies so much and have been trying to find a place to put them, and this came together very nicely for me.
Boy, I haven't seen I Know What You Did Last Summer in a long time. That'll be fun.
It's
to
the only one
revisit,
that exists.
for sure.
There are no others.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I get that.
I'm looking forward to seeing all those together. That's crazy.
Yeah, me too. Well done, team. This was really fun. Thank you so much, Kynan, for a great week, a great episode. I'm looking forward to next month too. We haven't. It's summer. Do we have any particular horror plans for the summer? Are we doing any horror related adventures this summer?
Well, if you're in LA, Midsummer Scream is in August. That'll be happening. And I'm doing a bunch of film fests, so.
Yeah, you are. You're on the circuit. Where are you going next?
Next weekend, I go to Chattanooga Film Festival for Grind.
Chattanooga.
Yeah, driving
What
there
a
from
hotbed of horror. That's
apparently
awesome. All right.
And there's some great regional filmmakers from Tennessee, so I'm excited to go check out that fest. I hear great things.
Good fun. All right. Well, then it's time for us to just go on vacation. It's summer. Take a vacation, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. Sittinginthedark.com if you want to learn more about the show. We would love you to subscribe and share, and let's all get scared together. We'll see you on behalf of Tommy Metz III and Chelsea Stardust and Kynan Diaz. I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you next month. Sitting in the Dark.